Are you thinking about paying for LSAT score preview, but you're not sure if it's the right move, whether it's worth the extra money or just another LSAT cash grab? Today, I'm going to give you a detailed, no-nonsense breakdown of LSAT score preview, what it is, how it works, the pros and cons, and most importantly, whether it's worth it for you. This decision could impact how you approach your LSAT and your law school applications. First, for those who don't know me, my name is Steve Schwartz. I've been teaching the LSAT since 2005, and I personally increased my own LSAT score from a 152 to a 175. Now, if you're studying for the LSAT, you've probably heard of score preview. It's an optional feature that lets you see your LSAT score before deciding whether to cancel. At first glance, that might sound like a no-brainer. Why wouldn't you want the extra peace of mind? But when you dive deeper, you'll see that it's not so simple. Today, I'm going to walk you through what LSAT score preview is and how it works, the arguments for and against using it, who should consider it and who can skip it, and why this decision might be about more than just the money. Now, let's start with the basics. What is LSAT score preview? It's an optional service provided by LSAC, the organization that administers the LSAT. For an extra fee, $45 if you purchase it before the LSAT, or $75 if you decide after the LSAT, you can see your score before deciding whether to cancel it. Without score preview, you have 6 days after the test to cancel your score, but you've got to decide whether to cancel without actually knowing your score. If you do get score preview, you get to see your score first, then you still have that same 6 days to decide whether to cancel. The key difference is just the information knowing your score. Without score preview, canceling is a bit of a gamble, but if you do have score preview, you're making a fully informed decision. Now that we know what score preview is, let's tackle the question of whether it's worth the extra money. The answer depends on your goals, your financial situation, and your mindset going into the test. Now, let's talk about the case against score preview. Here are the main reasons why it might not be worth your money. For almost every single law school in the US, only your highest LSAT score matters. They don't average your scores, and they don't really care how many times you took the LSAT. So a canceled score or a low score are both going to be generally ignored as long as you have a strong top score. This means canceling a low score doesn't really give you much of an advantage. If you retake the LSAT and do well, the higher score is going to override any previous scores. You've also got to consider that a canceled score still shows up on your record. It's not invisible. Law schools will see a canceled label on your record, and while they don't put much weight on cancellations, they're still going to know that you took the LSAT and chose not to keep the score. So a canceled score and a low score are functionally equivalent for most law schools in the US. They're both ignored in favor of your highest score on record. Now, you can cancel your score even if you don't have score preview in case of a test day disaster. If it's a total nightmare, let's say you get sick, there's a tech glitch, you have a bad proctor, or you totally blank on a section, you can still cancel your score within 6 days without paying for score preview. You don't need to see the score to know that something went catastrophically wrong on your test day. Now, if you're on a tight budget, score preview might not be cheap for you, it might not be justifiable for you, and maybe you want to save that money for more additional prep resources. So if you've prepared thoroughly and your practice test scores are solid, you shouldn't need score preview if you're feeling strong about your preparation, and that confidence is often more valuable than any safety net. But on the flip side, there are a lot of valid reasons why score preview is a great investment for a lot of test takers, and let's explore those. First and foremost, it gives you peace of mind. The stress of not knowing your score before deciding whether to cancel could feel overwhelming. Score preview removes all of that uncertainty, giving you the comfort of making a fully informed decision. That peace of mind can reduce your test anxiety both before the LSAT and during the test itself. It also helps you avoid the regret. Imagine that you canceled your score because you felt like you bombed, only to realize later that you actually did well. With score preview, you totally eliminate that risk because you can make your decision about whether to cancel with full knowledge of how you actually did. It's also a great safety net for perfectionists because if you're a high achiever aiming for top law schools, you want every single aspect of your LSAT record to reflect your full abilities. A cancellation, while not really a big deal for most admissions officers, it might still feel like a blemish to you. And so Score Preview lets you decide whether to keep your score or cancel it based on the actual results. And so for those who can afford it, $45 or $75 is really a small price to pay for a reduction in your stress. If Score Preview helps you sleep better at night and feel more confident on test day, it could well be worth it. And it's also especially useful for first-time test takers who don't really know how they're going to do. If it's your first at-bat taking the LSAT, you might not know what to expect or how you're going to perform under test day conditions, and so that could be a reassuring safety net. So let's talk about who should and should not consider Score Preview. If you're a first-time test taker, if you're feeling nervous about your performance, you want Score Preview. If you're applying to Canadian law schools that do average multiple LSAT scores, you're going to want to get Score Preview. If you can afford the extra cost, if it's a drop in the bucket to you, it's well worth the investment. And if you're a high achiever who wants to ensure that your LSAT record aligns with your goals, again, Score Preview is worth it. But you could skip LSAT Score Preview if you're on a tight budget, if you feel like you could better allocate the money to your LSAT prep or other priorities. Maybe you don't want to spend the money. If you're feeling that your test performance going into test day is really consistent, your practice test scores are all around the same place, you feel like you're strongly prepared, then maybe you don't need Score Preview. And of course, given if you're applying to law schools in the US where only the highest LSAT score on record matters, you don't really need it since law schools are not going to average multiple scores anyway. But again, for the peace of mind, just in case, it could be worth it. And so, of course, while Score Preview is a business decision by LSAC, it helps them fill their coffers, it helps them get additional revenue, but that doesn't mean that it's inherently bad. If that service provides value to you, whether it's peace of mind or better decision-making about whether to cancel, but I would not consider it an absolute necessity for every single person. But remember that while it's not essential for every single student, it can give you peace of mind. It's not going to be a solution to you getting the highest score possible, but while LSAT Score Preview is not essential for everyone, it could still provide peace of mind. And so if it reduces your stress, helps you feel more confident going into the LSAT, it might be worth the cost. Now, if you'd like my help feeling confident going into test day, whether you have LSAT Score Preview or not, if you want to get your practice test scores solidly into the 170s, my team and I would be glad to help you out. At LSAT Unplugged, we offer live online classes via Zoom, on-demand video courses, small group coaching, and one-on-one coaching. You can check out the links below to find out more and to book a call with me and my team. We'd be glad to help you out. So as for the question ultimately about whether LSAT Score Preview is a waste of money or a worthwhile investment, the answer is going to depend on you, your individual needs, and your circumstances and where you're applying to law school, US versus Canada. The best advice I can give you is to focus on your prep first. If you go into test day feeling confident in your abilities, you're not going to need to worry about cancellations or about Score Preview at all. Anyway, folks, that's all for now. In the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.